Hey, gratitude is a skill, guys. But if you practice, you'll get a joyful life regardless of your circumstances.
Payoff is a strikeout. Your swing pitches, payoff. The deadline deal with the backbreaker is nothing. Broken down. He's on the challenge. To the top. To the top. Touch glove. He scores in the section.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Alan Cutler. Honored and pleased to be with you. Honored and pleased you're joining me. This is like an old day in television when things are breaking like crazy and you're getting information to the very end. I have a lot of fresh information about the JMI deal that I think you're going to find fascinating. Also, this just popped on my screen. The headline, and I'll get back to JMI in a second. Kentucky's Mark Pope wants a 40-game regular season portal opening move to after the NCAA tournament. I don't think that surprises anybody. Matt Norlinger wrote that for CBS Sports. He's part of his podcast. I will listen to the podcast after the show. If there's something in there that's good, we will play it tomorrow. But he's putting the headlines in his article, that kind of thing. And he wants the NCAA to move the portal to like right after the NCAA tournament, like 5 days after, and that makes perfect sense. And he then explains again why he wants 40 games, because as he says, my guys, and this is true of a lot of teams, my guys do better academically when they're too busy. It's crazy, but so many coaches through the years have said that. And I think there's nothing wrong with 40 games. You're going to take away some practices. I've always wanted more games, and I've always wanted less cupcake games. So I'm breaking in with that because that is kind of breaking news a little bit, as Pope did a podcast with Matt Norlinger. You know, it's kind of interesting. As Matt doesn't want to do my show, he included me in one of his pieces, which is interesting, the top 25 things that happened in college basketball in the last 25 years. And I'm just reading his article, and boom, I'm in it with the Billy Gillespie thing. And so you would think he would do my show, but no. So he's ghosted me now twice in the last couple of years. Jimmy, I guess he doesn't like me. I don't really know him, but I guess he thinks I'm not big time enough for him. Anyway, the guy's a hell of a reporter, so I don't hold one thing versus another. I'm going to do JMI first. So here's the deal. I've been working on this for quite a while. And as time has gone on, I've got more and more knowledge. And I had a couple questions I still don't have answered. But let me tell you what I know. Okay. This is not a $465 million deal. Let me repeat. I know it came out as a 15-year, $465 million deal. I'm going to repeat. It's not 465. And I'm not being negative, because the feeling is from the multiple sources that I've talked to that they believe, JMI and Kentucky, that'll end up being more than 465. So how the hell do you break it up? Okay, what I didn't know yesterday is that this is basically a 6-year extension from the contract they already have, but the rules have changed, is the best way to put it. So basically, Kentucky was not making $20 million a year. They were not making $15 million a year. But this guarantee will now go up. Will go up slightly. And so when you look at $465 million, hold that thought in your head. So let's say whatever it is, let's say $50 million is brought in. All the expenses that JMI has comes right off the top. And that's fair. I think that's a fair deal. Then whatever's left over, 20% goes to JMI. The rest goes to Kentucky. What I'm told, this is one of the reasons why it's a better deal for Kentucky. Because before this, there was a floor of about $15 million. And I've still heard a couple of different numbers. So take that as an average. Now, if JMI ended up bringing in a lot more money, they weren't getting a cut of it. They were not. So the possibility for Kentucky making more money just went up tremendously if they generate more money. So on that basis, it's a good deal. Here's the other thing, and I said that it had to be this way, and it is. So, Jimmy, you're the star quarterback, right? And they put a deal together going through this deal with JMI and Kentucky and all that they're giving you, let's say, $500,000. You okay with that, Jimmy?
I'll take that.
Okay. Now, Joe's plumber, who's not part of the JMI umbrella, not part of UK, comes to you and says, you know what? I want to give you an extra $100,000 for doing this, this, and this, and this. Jimmy, I'm going to guess, being the smart kid that you are, you're not going to say no.
Correct.
Okay. So you can make that money, but with the new system in college athletics, that has to go through that board to approve that part of the contract. So it's different. And so one of the things that I like, and I knew this, to me, there was no way they couldn't do it this way, because somebody else might want to help and want to play a player, and it's not part of the umbrella. So what? Now, would Kentucky like that every contract go through JMI and stuff like that? Absolutely. Are there going to be some tremendous advantages that way? There's no question about it. There's no question. But by the same token, too, if Joe's plumber has, 14 plumbing shops across the state, and he likes Jimmy as the quarterback, and he says, I want to toss in $100,000 for that. You do commercials, do this, do that, and you want to do it. That doesn't stop you from doing the deal at all. So I think that's good. I think it's very good. And one of the main questions, and Jimmy, because I pounded this, that I said if it was me, I would explore about trying to set this up and do it in-house. And I've talked about that a number of times this week. My understanding, that was done. But there's a couple things to remember here. This is basically a 6-year contract extension. And so the formula was basically in place for Kentucky. So it would be like two different things. It could almost be slightly competing with JMI, if that makes any sense. And so for a number of reasons, I get why they did it this way. So the contract goes to 2040. It is now a 15-year contract. The 465, I'm not going to say it's hot air, but I'm going to say it's bogus, but it might be good bogus. Bogus doesn't have to be bad. The truth is, I don't think anybody knows. Now, have they discussed things behind closed doors, where they get money, that kind of stuff, and all different signage and commercials? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no question about it. But that's a theory. That's on paper. And the reality will be what it happens. So if you're going to ask me, is it going to be 465? I'm going to tell you absolutely not. Now, you can ask me, is it going to be more or less? How do I know? I don't think they know. But what's good for UK, if they get over that around $15 million or a little bit more that was guaranteed a year, I'm now getting a couple different figures from people who should know. If it's over that, because of all the extra money that's brought in, it's not just a flat guarantee for Kentucky. And Jimmy, I think that's significant. I really think it's significant. And I can see this with Mitch, because he's dealt with JMI for quite a long time. He obviously trusts them. They obviously have a good relationship. And part of that soundbite in the first answer he had the other day when he did that gang interview with the media was stability. And I could see his point of view easily that this gives Kentucky stability. Is everything worked out? No. No. Is there a foundation? Yes. Do I know everything about this? I do not. And I have a couple of questions that I don't have the answer to. For example, Jimmy, let's say JMI, and I'll just say I don't know the answer to this, and I'm trying to find out. Jimmy, let's say JMI comes to you as the quarterback, and they get you $500,000. You know what I don't know? Does JMI get a cut of that? I'm going to guess yes. That would be part of expenses. Jimmy, if you're the salesman for JMI, right, and you have, let's say, this great dealership and you're coming up with money and you're a salesman, you get paid for what? Selling. It's not just a flat salary. You're getting a percentage. And some of these people that are selling go make a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way it is. And so do I think, I don't know, do I think that JMI will get some money off the top? I do. Because that's just business. You know, if you're a salesperson for LM Communications or any other place in town, TV, radio, or whatever, you go out and sell advertising, and guess what? You get a percentage of that. LM keeps most of it, almost all of it, and they should. But it's a percentage deal. And you're not going to attract a really good salesperson to a JMI unless you give them a percentage. I'd be shocked if otherwise. So I think there's something else in there too. There's some particulars at this point, I don't know. But the deal is, 15 years, $465 million. It's a bogus number. It's a number, though, that they believe, and this is important, is a lower figure. They want to over-deliver and under-promise. Okay? They think they can do better. I hope they do. 2, JMI gets all the expenses taken out off the top, and then it's a 80-20 split. For as much money as it is, and that's really key for UK, there's no ceiling as to what they can make. So if JMI comes up with more money, Kentucky makes a lot more money. It's a great deal, that part for UK. It really is, and it's really how it should be. So from what I see now, it seems like a really good deal. Here's what I don't know, and you don't know, and they don't know. This stuff is changing all the time. You know, could this be like a quarterback? Jimmy, maybe you'll remember when Burrow got his deal, was it $50 or $55 million a year over 5 years, something like that? He broke the record for the biggest contract, right, in the NFL with quarterbacks. Somebody broke the deal, right? Somebody broke the deal. And there were a couple deals before Burrow that, guess what? They broke the deal. And how many times do you see somebody as a position player, I'm the next great stud, so if so-and-so was getting $100 million, I have to have $101 million. That's just what's going on today, which I think is kind of ridiculous. More power if you get away with it, but does it have to be more? Does it have to be more? The agent wants to make sure you get more for 2 reasons. Yes, their cut's a little bigger, but they can say, hey, you know what? We signed so-and-so, who's going to go into the Hall of Fame, we think. Yet when he signed, that was the largest contract in the history of the NFL for that particular position. It's an ego thing. Money thing, too. It's an ego thing. Because the difference, a couple $1 million when you have that much money, easy for me to say, doesn't really make that much of a difference. Jimmy, you think that was understandable?
I think so. Just everything with the money and the figures and how much it's like, as just casual fans, it's overwhelming just because we don't know where the bar is. What's a lot? What's a little? Is this going to be a good deal in 14? Nobody knows because we're still in the infant stages of all the NIL, everything. So it's like we see all these numbers, at least for me, but I'm like, I don't know. Is this good? Is this comparable to the other SEC teams? Do they need more? Does this affect anything in the long run? Do we know?
Well, here's what will be fascinating. I'm going to answer your question with a question. Now, Kentucky is ahead on these things right now. What's going to happen in Alabama? Jimmy, I don't know. Right? What's going to happen at Notre Dame? And so it's possible this deal won't be as good. But since there's no ceiling to what Kentucky can make, it has a lot to do with how good the teams are and how good of salespeople they are, JMI. I think that has a ton to do with it. And so since there's not a ceiling on the amount of money UK can make, at least for what's going on today, if you trust JMI, and I've talked to enough people who said you should trust JMI, okay? If you trust JMI, then right now it looks like a really good deal. But you're absolutely right, Jimmy. You're like me. Who knows what it's going to be like 4 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever. But I think it's really important that the headline 15 years, 465 is just bogus. But I'm saying bogus, I'm not being negative. It could be 500 million. And I am telling you that they believe that the 465 is a low number. And also that athletes, they hope all athletes go through this deal for the NIL stuff. And they will make sure there's some obvious advantages for the structure in place. But by the same token, too, if somebody else who's not part of their group doing business with them, wants to give a player some money, guess what? They can't. There's a different structure for that. They don't have to turn it down, which is the way it should be. It's kind of a free enterprise system. Jimmy, I think that makes perfect sense. Yes? Or about as perfect as it gets. And would it surprise me if tomorrow I come up with more?
No, it's as perfect as you can get in a very fluid situation.
Fluid is a good word. And you're with me with my guess, right? Now I'm making you the salesperson who happens to put a great deal together for the quarterback, right? And you're paying him $500,000, which is a low number. A low number. Well, do me a favor. Chip doesn't have the Zoom link for today's call. Maybe it went to his spam. We do this stuff live. Jimmy, would you resend it to him?
Yeah.
Okay. And I lost my train of thought. Jimmy, help me out now. It's all good. It's all good. By the way,
I don't know if I can send it and grab your train of thought at the same time.
Okay. My train of thought is more important.
I don't know.
Don't worry about it. It's all good. Here's the thing that's interesting. In multiple conversations, it just came up that Mitch was under the weather. And I said to a particular person, this is a bunch of conversations. I know Mitch won't come on my show. And that person said, probably not. And that person also said he's under the weather. Then in another phone call, today was a big Rotary Day, okay? And the guest speaker was Mitch Barnhart. And all this stuff is going on. And all these folks have to tell the Rotary Club earlier in the week that they're coming, because if you have a big crowd, they have to, prepare food, knowing if you're going to have an extra 200 people there or something like that. It's a big deal. Mitch was going to speak at Rotary today with everything going on. Well, he's under the weather, so Mark Hill is going. And Mark, he and I, not that we're great friends or anything, but I've known Mark since he was a strength coach for Hal Mummy. And it's amazing. He's now the number 2 guy. So Mark Hill is pinch hitting for Mitch Barnhart today. And Jimmy, I wonder if there'll be people upset because Mitch, the number 1 guy, didn't go. But I was told he was under the weather. So just a little tidbit to throw out there. By the way, did you see Adidas is giving money directly to athletes? They're going to do some of that? I mean, this thing is changing so much. It's just goofy. It's really unbelievable. This tidbit, I've got to get off my head. Drew Cook is coming on after 1 o'clock today, and I'd seen it, but I forgot about it, and he reminded me and sent it to me. Andahar hit a grand slam last night. We played the clip of Andahar's grand slam last night. Jimmy, 2 days before they picked him up, he wrote an article about how it'd be really good for the Reds to get Andahar. That's pretty good stuff. It's pretty good stuff. And I remember reading, but I forgot it. He reminded me. So one of the many things we'll talk to him about it. Let me flip to the Reds for a second. Jimmy, are they teasing us? Seriously now, dude. Are they teasing us? For the last 3 days, there isn't a single team. It's only the last 3 days who's got better starting pitching, really, than the Reds. That's an easy thing to do. But what Green did last night, I mean, come on. The guy's been on the shelf for quite some time. And he has the groin issue, this issue, all those kinds of things. And his numbers, and I said this yesterday, in the minor leagues, getting ready to come back were terrible. And I didn't give a rat's about that because he's just trying to get his arm in shape and throw. And I didn't check at every one of his games. But basically, you're in a jam and that kind of stuff. And they want you to get, let's say, up to 70, 75 pitches. And you got 2 runners on. You're not going to take him out. 1, you'd like him to work through it. And 2, guess what? What you're trying to do is just build his arm up. So I said yesterday, I didn't give a blank about him giving a ton of runs up for him in AAA getting back here. The box score was crazy good. I mean, it's really crazy what he did. Jimmy, how many runs did he give up last night? Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. It's incredible. First of all, it's incredible that the last 2 days against the Phillies, the Reds have outscored them 14-1. 2, they're now 6 over 500. That's kind of a tease a little bit. A tease. And Green was spectacular. He wasn't good. He was absolutely spectacular. Not perfect, but pretty close. How many runs did he give up in 6 innings? None? None? Really? Did he hit 100 miles an hour? Yeah. Yeah. Did he feel good about last night? Yeah. Yeah. And Francona said, look, 85 pitches is enough. Really? It's enough. I thought it was a lot, actually. 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs. How about this? This will tell you a lot about command. No walks, struck out 6. ERA for the year down to 2.47. And I said before the season, I thought he'd be 1 of 5 in the conversation for the Cy Young Award. Now that's not true because of injuries. I didn't know he was going to be injured, but I thought he had gotten to that point, and I thought he should have gotten a little more love for the Cy Young. Not that he should have won it last year, but he should have gotten more love for the Cy Young. I was wrong. And part of a soundbite that we're not going to play in the 1 o'clock hour when we talk to Drew Cook is about Ellie. Now, this is a really big comment and a little bit self-serving, and I like it. I'm good with it because Tito does very few things that are self-serving. And so Andahar hits a grand slam home run. And as good as that is, I really like the fact that Tito complimented Ellie because his hustle made it so that Andahar came up to the plate. And one of my pet peeves is there are some teams that don't run hard enough. For example, if you look at highlights to the hottest team and the best team in baseball this year, which I didn't predict, Milwaukee, anytime you see a clip, those guys are running right out of the batter's box. I love that. It drives me crazy when guys will either jog and then, boom, take off or go kind of three-quarter and lollygag, and they get a double, but they might have gotten triple if they ran coming out of the batter's box. I got to tell you, if I ran a team, and unless you were injured, that's one thing. If you didn't run hard from the first step out of the batter's box, it'd be $100. Be $100. Point is this. Tito said he sold this to the team in spring training, that if you run really, really hard, there'll be times we will win because of your hustle. And then he said something that I thought was great, and I believe it. And this is a compliment to Francona. He says, not every team hustles like this. Now, think about that. He's right. Do I think they're hustling because of Tito? Yes. Did they hustle like this under David Bell last year? No. Am I ripping David Bell? No. Is Tito much better? Yes. There is something about Tito that guys love him. That guys love him. And in the soundbite we're going to play later, they basically should have challenged something. And he said, that was my fault. I'm getting old. I should have done it. What does he do? Takes blame, deflects it with humor. They came back and won. I'll tell you something else the Reds are doing. They're winning some games where they're winning ugly. And I got to tell you, when they're playing ugly under David Bell, how many times did they win? I don't know numbers. I can't figure it out. I'm not going to figure it out. But the perception was when stuff like that fell apart, they didn't win. You kind of knew they weren't going to win. And, Jimmy, they've won a number of games this year when they, got really sloppy. But they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought. And, the expression 27 outs, it actually means a lot to them. I like it. So they're teasing me. They're teasing me. I'm okay with being teased. Heck, more excited about the Reds right now than my Yankees. Did I just say that? Gee, Jimmy, I hope you're not recording the show, which I know you are. It's blasphemy. Did I really just say that?
I think I heard it.
They're only a game out. Talk about the Mets sucking. Oh, my gosh. Did you see that the Mets were up 6-0 and they lost? I think it was 11-6. They're up 6-0 and they lost to Atlanta 11-6. That's a problem. And now the Reds are only 1 game behind the Mets. This is a huge collapse. Huge collapse. And Soto, who I said this was going to happen, early on, he was nervous. He was playing terrible. He didn't want to talk about, stuff with the Yankees. He was really uptight. And I said, give him some time. Give him some time. He'll be fine. And I used the example then as I did with the pitch clock they put in from pitchers a couple of years ago, how these pitchers were moaning and complaining and all that kind of stuff. And I basically said they need to shut up. And here's what will happen. You'll get shortly into the season and everybody will shut up because you'll adjust. But how many people before they started spring training go, oh, are you kidding? I can't pitch like this. It's nonsense. It was stupid. Here's the rule. You adjust to it. Shut up and adjust. And really, after 6 weeks into the season, anybody complain? Now, early on, guys complain. Oh, I got out of rhythm. Well, that's too bad. That's your fault. That's your fault. And I actually think the pitch clock shouldn't be morphed to something on base. Make it 15 seconds. Seriously, just make it 15 seconds. Period. Making the games faster is unbelievable. That's not the point. The point is it's how you look at things. Okay? And to me, that's important. It's just really important. And I got to tell you, we're being teased by the Reds. But they play hard, and they're playing together. And I give 1,000% credit to Tito, and I give 1,000% credit to the players who have bought in. And I got to do my Marte thing. Jimmy, have I did 10 Marte things in the last month or 3 weeks or something like that? It seems like, right?
There's been a lot of Marte things.
Yeah. And I'm doing it before anybody else was, because I was on him before anybody else, because I like him that much. By the way, did he have a good night last night? Take a look at the box score. Yeah. He now has 8 home runs, 35 RBIs. He's batting .290, and he's on pace. And I'm not stretching this to 600 at-bats. And it's a game I play all the time. ESPN has the numbers, and then I do sometimes these numbers in my head because it's not sometimes equating to what reality would be versus if he got to play more. Keeps my mind sharp with numbers. I still do numbers in my head, not like I used to, but I'm still really good with numbers. And he's on pace for way under 600 at-bats, for 25 home runs and 105 RBIs. So when they were batting him ninth, what is it, a week ago, 10 days ago? I don't remember, when I was complaining that Tito was batting him too deep, and then he finally started moving up. I'm sure he was listening to the show and complaining, moving up, because he was hitting well then. I mean, they might have their right fielder accidentally. That'd be great. Wouldn't be good? It would be great. But I love the fact when Tito said, not everyone hustles the way the Reds are. I like the fact that Tito says, as great as the Grand Slam was for Andujar, who's been spectacular, against righties and lefties, by the way, and he's known for lefties, and they just stuck him in a cleanup. And he's so much more mature than when he came up for the Yankees. It's not even funny. It's pretty interesting how he's grown, with a perfect attitude from everything I've read about him and how he's grown and changed and stuff like that. Maybe it was too big for him when he came here. And I've said this many times, there are a lot of times you come from a different country and you're not used to the culture, and it takes a while to adjust. And some players hang around long enough to adjust. Andujar always had talent, and maybe this is now his time to really, really shine. But as great as Andujar was, he's complimenting Ellie, and it wasn't just to push Ellie. He's complimenting what Ellie did. Hustled. Without that hustle, Andujar doesn't come up. And without Andujar coming up, does he get a grand slam? It's a pretty simple deal. Chip Rupp coming up next. Drew Cook talking Reds baseball. After that, hey, check out my friends at the Quantrill Auto Group, especially the great deal they have this month for Subaru, the Outback. That is a special vehicle. Drive it. Plus, how about this for costing you less money? 0%. Remember in the old days, there were a lot of dealerships that did 0%. You don't see that anymore, do you? I'm trying to remember the last time I saw it. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if it fits in your budget, what you have to do is spread it out over 72 months. It's 1.9% for 72 months. What a deal. 0% interest for 36 months. And don't forget, the Quantrill family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru. And they promise to get you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks. We have 2 cars from Quantrill. We're really happy. They've treated us great. Chip Rupp coming up next. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrill Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrill Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru. The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%
That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal! 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quattro family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jack Link's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. Chip is being nice, but I don't know if I want to see it, that as good as the Reds are playing, one game out of the wild card, and my Yankees suck, that in kindness to me, he's got his Yankees background. I really thought you were going to do the Reds today. Chip Rupp, Adolph Rupp the third, kind enough to join us, as he has, it seems like, a gazillion times. So, curious as your take with this JMI Kentucky deal. I don't know if you were listening and getting the gist of it, that the 15-year 465 is kind of bogus. And I'm not saying bogus bad, that they believe that this will end up being a low number, that basically all the expenses come off the top. And then after that, it's a 20-80% split. Kentucky gets 80%. And the higher it is, the more money UK can get. And this is only a 6-year extension to their deal. So it was in place. And what happens is Kentucky could only get X before now. Now it's unlimited what they could make if JMI and their sales staff does a great job selling. So the potential dollars for Kentucky is much greater. Plus, they will do NIL deals for players, but and I like this, and I knew they had to do it. I don't see legally how you couldn't. But, you know, if an outside company that's not part of the aroma and the aura and the umbrella of JMI comes to a player and says, look, we'll give you X for doing X, you can still take the deal, and you should. It's a free enterprise system. But then you have to go through the NIL setup deal that was put together, that it's got to go through that different clearinghouse, which is also fair. I'm also guessing that with the expenses, if you're a salesman and you put $1 million contract together for a quarterback, well, salesmen get paid for selling. And I would assume they're going to get a percentage. And I would assume JMI is going to get a percentage of that. And that will be part of the expenses. I mean, that's the only logical thing. I don't know that, but I can't see them doing it anyway. Why else would you attract a great salesperson if you say, I'm only going to pay you X? Chip, you're in the real world. You know the real world doesn't work that way. You work for LM Communications and you sell more advertising. LM gets most of the money, as they should. But if you sell more than somebody else, you should make more money. That's true at LEX 18, LM Communications, everywhere. It's the way the world works. So all that I know, and I know the ceiling for Kentucky is no longer there when they're only guaranteed a certain amount. And I've heard 13, I've heard 15. This is from inside people. I don't know which one it is, but I'm giving you a temperature of the ballpark. now that ceiling is definitely higher. Now, by the same token, too, if JMI doesn't sell any advertising, they're screwed and Kentucky's screwed. I'm not concerned about that. I don't know if the 465 is bogus. It is bogus, but I don't know what it'll end up being. They don't know what it'll end up being, and they honestly believe the 465 will be a low figure so that someday when this comes out, they can say, look what a great job we did. Under promise, over deliver. I think that's a smart way of doing business. One, I wanted to reset all that because sometimes audiences changes in the half hour, people going to lunch and stuff like that. And two, I wanted to make sure at least you knew what I knew, Mr. Chip Rupp. And now I will do the audience a favor. Shut the blank up. And what do you think? And thanks for joining us.
Well, it's always great to be with you, Alan. I don't know enough of the details except what you shared regarding the nature of the relationship. What I will say is, JMI, I think the University of Kentucky was their first university that they entered into their sports marketing agreement with. So it is their flagship. I think Mitch and the powers that be have thought outside the box, and I think that there's more good here than bad. Now, obviously, if JMI doesn't perform or can't perform, that's going to be an issue. But I think this solves a lot of our NIL problems, and I think it's a great thing. The head of JMI is a guy named Paul Archie. Spent a period of time in Major League Baseball. The guy's incredibly bright, and I think the powers that be at JMI are going to take this opportunity and run with it. And I think the number that's been projected is going to be much lower than what it actually turns out to be.
It's interesting you say that because I've also heard really good things about Paul Archie.
Paul Archie's great. And I can tell you this, if you really want to get someone on your show that can speak to Paul Archie in detail, you need to bring Jim Host back on. But and I think he'd be a good guest to speak to this because he is the master of sports marketing going back so many years, and he would be able to give you good insight on this.
Yes. And let me leave it at that for a couple of reasons. Okay. You're absolutely right. Jim Host is the king. He's the king. He would have been the first person I would have called in this, the first person. And, Jim being retired still in a lot of facets has his door open to help. He loves UK. He will help UK till his last breath, which hopefully is not for a long time. But he's probably done as much for the University of Kentucky as really any human being. when you think of the test of time and what he's done for the university and his love for the university, and in his heyday was a hell of a pitcher too.
Oh, he was all the above and years ahead of his time. I mean, he is the guy that really paved the way for what we're seeing now with the JMIs and the other great sports marketing groups. I mean, he is a living legend and just a wealth of knowledge. Every time I have a few minutes with him, I'm blown away. I really am.
Every time that I've had coffee with him, it's like I'm a sponge.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a sponge. You're learning from him. And I want to tell you something. I hope my mind is as sharp as his if I get to his age. Seriously, it's amazing how sharp he is. If they can't perform, you're right. But, if you went with any company, you would say that as well. So I'm going to be optimistic for Kentucky. Well, I've heard such good things about Archie, and I'm glad you have said the same thing, that when you have somebody on the top that's as good as he is, who also loves Kentucky, who is a Kentucky boy and has tremendous ties to Kentucky and all that kind of stuff, when you have somebody like that who's as good as he is, it makes you feel like you're in really good hands. Plus, it's pretty obvious Mitch likes him. It's pretty obvious that they have had a relationship. And it's pretty obvious, and the word that comes back to my mind is the word he used in his first soundbite when he met with the media after that meeting the other day, that gives Kentucky stability. What we don't know, and nobody knows, and I don't care what company you went with, you don't know how this deal will look 5, 8, 10 years from now compared to other people. But the part that I like about it, even if another school gets a better deal, there's no there's no ceiling to what Kentucky can make because it's 80% of whatever it is. So if it goes higher and higher, the door is open for Kentucky to make more and more money. Because of that, could somebody eventually put a better deal together? I'm sure there will be, because that's just life. But when you have 80% and it's not only X, but it goes on to whatever it is after expenses, I think that's a pretty good deal on the surface.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great, I think it's a great deal. You know, people are polarized with what they feel about Mitch, but I think at this point in Mitch's career, the last thing he wanted to do was have to replace his women's basketball coach, his men's basketball coach, and yet to be determined if there's any other changes that need to take place. You combine that with this ever-changing NIL landscape, which it evolves daily. And so to his credit, I think this will be part of his legacy is thinking outside the box and this will be one of the things, this partnership with JMI. I have all the confidence in the world in Paul Archie. I think that, as I said earlier, we are their flagship school. We were the first they entered into a marketing deal with, and I think they're going to work their tails off to make sure it's successful. And I'm optimistic to see where it goes.
You feel better today than 2 days ago about this? Or is it more of the, I don't know enough, or I need the more? I guess from coming from today's society, and have I ever been guilty of this? Absolutely. When you don't know, you're kind of thinking the worst. I wasn't thinking the worst, but I was very curious. And I'm sure there's a lot of little details that I don't know. Probably we never will know, but the basis foundation I like a lot.
Well, so for me, I like to control all the variables I can. So it's a huge leap of faith to enter into this partnership and say, okay, we're going to hand you this and we're relinquishing control. And, the negative side of your mind can go to, well, what if they don't perform? What if we don't see eye to eye on this? We've given over ownership of this to JMI. So I was a little guarded when it was first announced, but as I've had a couple evenings to sleep on it, wrap my head around it, I think the positives far outweigh the negatives. I think it's groundbreaking, and honestly, I'm pretty optimistic to see where this thing goes.
Okay, I got some breaking news I want to throw at you. I'm reading it. Jimmy, I'm going to handle that text in a second. It's a very good question from our text machine. The person who sent it will understand why this is breaking news and why I want Chip to react to this tremendously. Pope did a long interview with Matt Norlinger of CBS, who's very good. And this is the latest information. It's on Matt Norlinger, and the Herald Leader did an article quoting that. So let's give everybody credit and that kind of stuff. On JQ with his knee. So this is fresh stuff. Ready? Quote, I have every expectations that he'll play this season. I don't think he's going to play all the games this season, but we'll see. He's made great progress, and he's kind of crossing off the benchmarks, as he goes. He's in a really important 3-week space for him right now, where it's the first time we get into hit strength training head on. He's still not doing anything live-ish or anything close to it, but we're really going strength heavy for the next 3 weeks. So we'll see how these 3 weeks go. I'm not surprised by any of this. I didn't know any of this, but I'm not surprised because I don't think anybody thought he'd play all the games. But this also tells us he's in the part where you're really pounding the weights and how's your knee going to respond? Is it going to blow up? And do you have to ice it and those kinds of things? So, again, I'm honestly not surprised, didn't predict any of this, but it seems like a logical point of view. The thing that I like the most of it, and then please respond, Chip, is that there's no setbacks. Because that's what you don't know. Because you know this. How many times has somebody had something like this and they have a little tweak and a setback and this and that and the other? So I assumed he was along those lines, but I've never said a blank word because I didn't know. So I think this is all positive. What do you think, Chip Rupp?
It's all positive, and it's not unexpected. I don't know if you remember this, Alan, but I experienced 2 ACL injuries back when I was playing.
Remember.
So I had both of them repaired many years ago. But the technology and the rehab protocol has gotten so advanced. You see Jaden, and he looks healthy as can be right now. So I didn't really anticipate that he would have any setbacks. I really didn't have any concerns that he's going to return to play and contribute significantly. With regards to playing all the games, he probably shouldn't. I mean, let's hold his reps down until we really need him, or we need him definitely at the end of the year, but he looks phenomenal. When you see him walk around the sidelines, he's going to be an impact player. And I'm encouraged to hear them affirm the fact that he hasn't any setbacks, but I didn't question his ability to rehab this thing, blow past certain benchmarks, and be way ahead of the curve.
Well, they didn't say he didn't have any setbacks. Okay. So I can't say that in anything I've seen, but what they did say, this is where he is now. And so my thing was, maybe I didn't explain myself properly, because I had no idea if there were setbacks or not. But if based upon what you're seeing here, it seems like there weren't any setbacks. And the fact is, he's at the point of ramping up. Hopefully I'm explaining that better. Let me throw this quote at you later on in John Hale's article from Matt Norlinger. So when asked if JQ might be on the court at the end of November, Pope, of course, didn't commit. He'd be shocked. But here's a quote. You ready for you? You'll like this, Chip. Maybe-ish. This one's hard. And the quote he said of the recovery timetable in general. So let's put it this way. I don't think anybody really expects him to be on the court before Thanksgiving. And I'm with you. Don't rush it. I mean, me, honestly, I'm not a doctor. Don't play one on TV. Oh, I'm sorry. I gave credit to John Hale. Ben Roberts. Sorry, dude. It's your article. Sorry, Ben. And I should know better. Ben covers the basketball team. I had John Hale in my head because he's on the list to try to ask him to come on the show next week. Sorry, Ben. This is good. I think what I call this is very positive progress. And there are, some reports on, I think everybody who's seen this, who follows this stuff, has him in the top 10, maybe as high as number 6. Who the heck knows at this point, being drafted next year in the NBA.
Yeah, no, he's going to have a bright NBA future. There's no point in hurrying him back. Having known this from experiencing it, the biggest things with regards to recovering from ACL surgery is not the repair of the knee. They've got that perfected down to science. It's amazing how well they can repair that ligament or replace it. But the challenge for Jaden or any other player is mental. You remember what it felt like when it tore, and it's not a good feeling. You remember how you were playing on the court that led to that. And so there's mental obstacles that he's going to have to overcome. And obviously the rehab protocol by today's standard is much different. So it's a lot more functional training leading up to his activities on the court, but it's getting it out of your head. The other part of it, and I think the literature still supports this, there's something really important about getting to the 1-year mark post-surgery. And I don't recall when he tore it, but there's no point in trying to cut that short and hurry him back in November. We want to win the games in November, but if we can't win them without him, I'm okay with seeing what happens there, because this is going to be a phenomenal team. He has a very bright future at the next level, and we don't need to compromise that in any way.
And not only that, but you might give people like Marino playing time that he might not have gotten, and all of a sudden he gets 15 minutes more, 15 games more clock than he would have had before. And now he's almost playing like a sophomore. So you try to look at a bright light in here, where if JQ could play right away, maybe he's only playing 6-7 minutes a game. And maybe some games not playing, maybe some games 12, 14 minutes. And now all of a sudden, I don't know this, but it would be shocking if he gets double-digit minutes all the way to the time that JQ comes back. And when JQ comes back, you think he's going to play 30 minutes a game? Hell no. No. So the bright side of this is somebody like Marino might blossom.
He might. But what I will say is I was blown away with him when I went to practice a couple weeks ago. I had seen him play in high school, but he was bigger than everyone else. And so when you raise the bar with the talent around him, I thought he might struggle a little bit, have a little bit of a learning curve. But the facts are, they're doing some agility drill work. His feet were much better than I thought they were. And I feel like he's going to give Brandon Garrison a run for his money. Mark my words on that.
I agree with that. I'm not going to be surprised. Sorry for stepping on Chip. I'm not going to be surprised if he passes him. Not predicting it. I'm just saying I'm open to that.
Well, I think because Brandon stayed the course and returned, I think he's going to get every benefit of the doubt. And he's going to get the first looks. But there is not a big difference right now between Brandon Garrison and Malachi Moreno. And I think long-term, there are aspects of Malachi's game that are going to be much better than Brandon's. And so, it's great to have two good options right now, but to pencil Brandon in is our 4 or 5 for the remainder of the year. I don't know that I think it's too early to do that because Malachi is going to have something to say about that.
Yeah, none of that. But there's another option if Pope wants to go small too. So one of the transfers might come in and play small, where it'd be a ridiculously fast and small and that kind of stuff. So would it shock me if he's got a small lineup also until JQ comes back? Not starting, not playing a ton of minutes, but kind of shaking things up. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I answer this with me from our text line. Good question. Somebody text our text line at 381-1313. Can UK use JMI money to buy out a coach? So I'll throw mine out there and you throw yours. Well, no. So there's a yes and no. And so with the 80% that Kentucky gets, that's for them to use anywhere they want. That has nothing to do with JMI. And so it's really not JMI's money. Now, if you're suggesting, can they get money from JMI? JMI is not going to give Kentucky money. Can they get a loan? You can probably get a loan from UK better. I don't think that's for JMI to do at all. I mean, if they need $30 million to buy out a coach and they don't have the money, do I see JMI giving UK $30 million? No. But if it ends up that they make more money from this deal from their part of the 80% after expenses, if you consider that JMI money, I don't, by the way. I consider that Kentucky's money because that's the money they got with the JMI deal. So I don't know if the person who texts us, it's semantics, but I do not see ever JMI writing a check out to UK to buy off a coach unless it's a loan. And I would be shocked of the lack of fiscal responsibility. Don't you agree with me? If UK had to go to JMI, I need $30 million to buy out the coach. Can you write it and we'll pay it back over 5 years? I don't see that happening at all. So,
got to tell you, that is a great question.
It sure is a great question
because realistically, we could be looking at that scenario, and the value to JMI is for the UK brand to be as successful as it can be with their premier programs. And there's nothing that generates more revenue for the University of Kentucky than UK football. And so, if they were, if a change ever needed to occur there or with another sport, if there was a pathway, JMI may be willing to write that check because they want a successful product.
I would be shocked, but that's okay. See, I think they would exercise their power a different way. Okay, so here's the deal on that. So they're selling all this advertising for UK, all this kind of stuff. And let's say, and I hope Stoops wins 10 games this year. I don't see it, but my point is I hope UK does really well. Let's say it's even worse than last year. I'm not suggesting it, and I don't believe it. That's not the point. I don't think you can buy him out unless, it's like 1 in 15. They don't play 16 games, but you know what I'm saying. Because he's 37 million. Somebody last night told me it was actually totally 40 million. I figure 40 million plus with assistant coaches. Whatever. It's around 40 million bucks. People say, get rid of him, buy him out, that kind of stuff. It's not simple. It's a lot of money. UK's already in the hole now, getting a loan athletics from UK overall for some of the projects they're doing. And this is a athletics department that has been one of the greatest in the history, literally, of colleges, as they not only have been solvent, which very few are, but they've been giving money back to UK, millions every single year. Yeah. So, I just don't see it that way at all.
Well, I would tend to agree with you. At this point, I have seen some fundamental changes. I was at an event not too long ago where Mark spoke to the fan base, and he seems a little bit like his older self 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, he does.
He seems motivated. I think we have his full attention. I think we're gonna get his best effort. I'm cautiously optimistic, even though we don't have a star-studded roster. We have a lot of good complementary components that may play together better as a team. So I'm really not ready to fuel much of the fire regarding coaching changes. And even if we were to have a subpar or rough year, To your earlier point, I just don't. It would have to be a disaster and probably have a lot of off the field problems for Mitch to act on that. I think.
Yeah, and it won't be just Mitch's call. Those days of an
Right.
11 church making that decision independently have been long gone. Let me throw this out here that everybody is missing. And I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to predict this is going to happen, nor am I going to tell you who it's going to be because I don't know. 3 years ago, there isn't a single person, including Mark Stoops, and by the way, this is not a negative comment to Stoops, who would have predicted that Max Harrison was going to be a first-round draft choices. No, you had no idea that. By the way, they really liked him, okay? And they thought he'd become a good starter, and then the light bulb went on. More power to him. The kid did great. My point is this. We don't know. I don't know. You don't know if there's 4 or 5 Max Harrisons on this team that just haven't blossomed to a certain point. I'm not going to be surprised if there's a couple of Max Harrisons in the people that we really don't know who they are. You know, Josh Allen, he told me on tape, and I'll never forget it, he wasn't even 190 pounds when he came to UK. And he put on, I'll always love this story. He wasn't, Wesley Woodyard did it too. He put weights in his pants to try to get more of a minimum weight. Come on. When he started playing, first of all, I felt sorry for the kid because he shouldn't have been in there and he's getting the crap beat out of him, but he didn't stop fighting and fighting and fighting. You didn't know that he was going to someday where you'd say he might be in the NFL Hall of Fame, which he will be if he continues playing like this. Chip, my point is this. It wouldn't surprise me if there are some kids on this team now who are not household names who will blossom into household names. And so, yeah, this is a lot of group of no names and stuff like that, although the kid from Arkansas is a much better lineman than people give him credit for, and I think Pete's going to be too. That's not the point. So let's see what happens. I'm open-minded and optimistic that maybe a couple of quote-unquote Max Hairstons will blossom and develop when I didn't know. I'm guessing you didn't know, and the public didn't know. So there's a fear of the unknown. And I'm saying, it's a terrible thing to say in sports talk, some of this play out. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we've seen a great track record from Mark and his staff developing guys that are 3 stars or less,
Yep.
Or undersized. And I think there may be some of those guys on the current roster. The other thing that I can tell you from talking to people that have been to practice, I have not, they're cautiously optimistic after seeing the pieces in action. So I'm going to just hold my opinions back for right now, but I'm pretty optimistic about the season. Now, in no way am I saying that it's going to be 8-4 or 10-2, but we've had a lot of people concerned that we can get 3 or 4 games, and I think we're going to be competitive in a lot of the games. And it wouldn't surprise me to see us sneak up on bowl eligibility.
Come on, you've seen this for 1,000 years. Every now and then, certain team has a whammy on another team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that Kentucky has a whammy on Ole Miss? You know, they took a lot of crap last year, and I got to tell you, their quarterback, now he could turn into a Max Hairston. I think people understand the analogy. But their quarterback starting out ain't no Dort, who's, by the way, having a very nice camp with the New York Giants. And I've talked to a couple people, and I don't know Ole Miss's roster. I'm not claiming to know Ole Miss roster. I don't really well know their old roster now. But I've talked to a couple of people who say that Ole Miss isn't as good as they were last year. Okay. And okay, let's get past one obvious thing. You can't turn the ball over. You can't fumble it away. You can't throw it away. The turnovers kill Kentucky. Blah, 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 blah. That's for any football team. I'm standing by this, and I've been saying this, and this was, to me, the next big problem on Kentucky that I keep on saying, and I'm not the only one. You got to convert on 3rd and 1. You got to convert on 3rd and 2. You got to convert on 3rd and 3. If that percentage goes way up, I'm not saying the best in the league. I'm talking in the top half of the league. And you got Dowdell, who's great on short right situations, and Seth McCowan, who's really good advancing the ball after he gets hit. If their running game, I'm not saying they're going to be Benny Snell. I don't know how good they're going to be, but I think they got 4 running backs. And I've been saying this for weeks now, weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm just telling you, if they can run the ball predictably when everybody in the damn stadium knows that they're going to run the ball and they start getting it, that changes everything how Bush Hamdan can call his plays, because he was really frustrated last year. He might not say it publicly, but I know he was frustrated and thinks he couldn't do that he wanted to do because he didn't have the talent to do it. They start getting 3rd and 1s, and everybody's lining up, and everybody at Kroger Field knows that they're going to run the ball, and they punch it out and get it. This whole thing totally changes. You can run the ball, you can win games. You can win games because that's Mark Stoops' MO, and they couldn't run the ball.
Yeah, no, I think that was the biggest deficiency last year. You didn't have a Chris Rodriguez or a Benny Snell that when you needed a tough yard or two, you had a very high probability when you gave it to guys like that. And we just couldn't we couldn't hold the line of scrimmage, and we couldn't get somebody that could just make up for those deficiencies by just being power backs. And so I'm hearing great stuff about this year's running back room. You're hearing the least amount about Wilcox right now. And talking to former players and people that know, they say he's our most talented guy. And so if we're hearing all the buzz about the other guys, we're not hearing much about him. I'm not sure what the disconnect is, but we saw glimpses of brilliance from him last year. And if we're hearing more about the other three, it encourages me a little bit about what's in that room.
And like any SEC teams, you can't live with 1 running back or 2 running backs. I think they have 4. I think they have 4. Are you getting into the Reds?
Yeah, I'm starting to catch the fever, but I'm afraid every time I do that, they disappoint me. But they're playing well right now for sure.
The last 3 days, which isn't a lot, but the last 3 days, they've had no team in baseball has had better starting pitching. And for Green to come back from the DL, not to walk a guy, not to give up a run, to hit 100 miles an hour and give you 6 innings with 85 pitches, I don't think is good. I think it's absolutely unequivocally spectacular. And I mean spectacular.
It surpassed my expectations. I was excited to see him take the bump last night, but didn't anticipate that type of performance. That's pretty awesome.
Anything else about basketball going on that hits your cranium?
No, I really like our schedule. There's some more name brand teams on there. We've got a few quote unquote cupcakes, but I think, with a young team trying to learn one another's tendencies, I think it's okay to have a few of those speckled in there. But no, my enthusiasm's still very high for it. And don't want to wish away the fall, though. I'm excited for football season to get started first. I hope we have a good season, and then we'll tip off basketball and hopefully make an amazing run there.
I don't like the cupcakes in the first 3 games in that tournament. Don't like it at all. Too many cupcakes. And here's my thing. I have nothing against Nickel State, and I have nothing against the Valparaiso. I have nothing against them. Why not have Eastern Kentucky? Why not keep I've been screaming about this since I got here in the early 80s. Why not have Eastern Kentucky? Why not have Morehead State? You're going to beat Eastern Kentucky as quickly or not as quickly as you can Valpo. You're going to beat, I get it because of home games. Big schools don't want to come in for something like that because they don't want to give up that many home games. I get it. And I get it, so do you, that Kentucky has to write checks out for this thing to happen. And somehow financially they've worked it out because of all the money they get for home games. I get it. But I'm sorry. They've never played Murray State. I know Murray State forever. When I did the story forever ago, I actually didn't believe they had never played Murray State. It's in the 80s, and I literally went through the entire book going year to year, and I stopped at World War I. Saying, okay, they really have not played each other. And why would Kentucky go to Murray State? I'm not ripping Murray State, but why the hell would Kentucky go to Murray State? It costs them a fortune. It makes no sense. You can't do it home. But I would offer them again. They don't want to, then I wouldn't call them again. Point is this. I don't like Nickel State and Valpo and all those schools. You're paying these schools money. Keep the money in state. Eastern Kentucky has a lovely program. Look at what Morehead's done, over a number of years. Northern Kentucky, whatever. Pick 3 Kentucky schools to do this. I know you're not supposed to say anything bad about Mark Pope. I know it's against the rules and stuff like that. I don't care about that. Explain to me. I get you can't play a Duke every night. I get it. I'd like it. I get it. The players would like it. Why are they playing Nickel State instead of Eastern Kentucky?
Well, I think historically you would have, a coach or an athletic director say, what do we have to gain by competing against someone that we recruit the same kids against in state? But the facts are, even though Eastern Kentucky's had some great programs, Murray State's had some great programs, if we're not in a position as the University of Kentucky that we can compete and beat those guys, then we've got much bigger problems. There could be the one outlier where they come in and they upset you, but for the most part, I agree with you. Let's keep the money in the state. So here's what we do. It's been the Adolph Rupp Classic. It's been the Kitely Classic. It's been named multiple things. Let's tee it up and bring in 3 in-state teams and call it the Commonwealth Cup. And let's battle for that. We're still going to win it, and we get a chance to keep the money here in state, give it to some of those other teams. This year would have been a great year to bring in my friend Darren Horn with Northern. Darren does a great job. His son's on the team. It would have been a good story.
It's a perfect story.
But I don't make those decisions.
I'm sorry. It just you know what? Let me tell you something. God forbid you lose to a state school. If Eastern Kentucky is good enough to beat Kentucky, that's on Kentucky, and then you have to congratulate Eastern Kentucky. And they're never recruiting the same players. They're never recruiting the same players. I'm sorry. I don't know how much Mark Pope was in the decision. I don't know if somebody laid it out to him. He said, okay. I don't know the particulars. I don't know if Eastern Kentucky had their schedule full. I honestly don't know, and that could be. I also don't know if Eastern Kentucky's schedule was full and they made a switch. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, but suppose Eastern Kentucky would switch and they had to buy out another team. It wouldn't be the kind of buyout that Kentucky would play, Eastern Kentucky would play in the game. So they might have to give up part of what they get from Kentucky. It is just tough for me to believe. And if somebody UK can tell me I'm wrong, factual-wise, please do it. I will apologize in the air. I don't like it. I've never liked it. I don't understand it. Eastern's got a new facility. They just fix up their old facility. A little more money will help them out. Hamilton is wonderful. Horn is wonderful. I mean, you got some really good guys and good coaches in the state. It really ticks me off.
So I don't know what conference Nicholls State is in, nor I can't really think right now what Valpo's in. But Cal justified playing some of those type teams by being resume builders for March Madness, saying they're going to be 1 or 2 in their conference, and so a win over them, even though they're not a household name, will help build the resume. So maybe they're looking at it, and maybe Nicholls State and Valpo are projected to win their conferences. Maybe that's how it happened. I don't know.
I think when Cal said it, a lot of it was just hot air to justify it and saying we're playing a tougher team. That was always me. Let's put it this way. If you can't beat the Valpo, and let's say, I don't know where they're ranked. I really don't. I'm sorry. I shouldn't apologize. But I mean, if you beat Valpo and let's say they were deemed to win their league, it's not going to change you from a 4 seed to a 2 seed. It's not going to do it. It's a bunch of BS, Chip. Cal got away with a lot of stuff, and I'm not ripping Cal, and he always had an angle, but it's just BS. I'm sorry.
I can tell you this. Cal is probably underutilizing his skill set as a college basketball coach, because he could be probably one of the greatest marketers ever or one of the greatest salesmen. I mean, he's got a gift of gab. He believes what he's saying, says it with confidence. And he's a salesman. A lot of what he told us was selling us on his narrative, and we bought it.
Couldn't agree with you more. But yeah, Valpo's right. If they are ranked number 1 in their league, this is going to help off the NCAA tournament. Yes. And shame on me. Can I no filter myself? I should have called them out a lot more. I actually did, but not the way I'm doing now. Of course, I wasn't doing a radio show then with the power I have now and the freedom I have now. So if I was doing a talk show, would I have done it? I think I would have, but I didn't to this degree. I did call BS at times. I did it a few times doing a live shot at Rupp Arena. Why are they playing this team?
You know what you ought to do to expand your listener base and create more enthusiasm? You need to reach out to Cal and ask him to come on.
You know what?
Why not?
I'm going to do that today. Because, if he turns me down, he turns me down.
I don't think he will.
Oh, there's no way he's going to say yes.
We'll see.
I'll bet you lunch at your favorite spot where I ran into you. How about that? No, that's not fair. No, that's not fair. That's not fair because you know what? You have no shot at winning. That's not a fair bet.
Place the call and let's see.
I will place a call. I promise you I'll place. Might not be this afternoon. I will place a call this week. Absolutely, unequivocally beyond the shot. What do you think the odds are he'll do the show?
I think he'll do it.
Really?
do.
You have some inside information I don't know?
No, I don't. I wish I did, but no, I don't.
Okay.
He's kind of gone dark on me since he left. So don't have any communication with him whatsoever right now. But I just feel like he has nothing to hide. And I don't know. I think there's a better than 50% chance that he'll do it.
I was told that he didn't like a lot of things that I said on radio about him. And I told that person, you know what? I complimented him for years. I meant it all sincerely. And to me, Cal is very simply, he's like, you have a bank account. And what he did was, to his credit, I've said this a million times, I shouldn't have to say it all the time. He's in the Hall of Fame, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. On top of that, what he did here, that first recruiting class, greatest recruiting class of all time, to put it together on a dime like that. I think it's greatest of all time. I don't say it because I'm in Lexington, Kentucky. So he had all these deposits, and he put gazillions in that bank, gazillions in. And then the first year they started slipping, it's kind of like, okay, he had a bad year. There's some withdrawals. There's still plenty left. But after about 3 years, I'm going, the bank's about dry. And that's when I really started getting rough on him, because it was about dry. Anybody can have it. Look, if Stoops wins 8 games this year, what happened the last 2 years was an aberration. We're in the last 38 games, they've won 18 or something like that, and the record in the conference stinks. Whereas they had a section of years they were really good. So maybe what Stoops went through was an aberration. Don't know, but no, he coaches can have withdrawals, but they don't think he can have withdrawals. And I think there are coaches that think you're only supposed to say nice things about him. And I know, so I heard, because he did the forward of the book, he expected different things from me. All I've ever done is be honest.
Well, here's why I think he would do it. It's a relatively quiet time of year, so it's not leading up to the season. He's not really pushing Mark's buttons or the fan base's buttons. You're reaching out to him, and he probably didn't appreciate the way you handled him as head coach, because he was pretty sensitive. But now he has an opportunity to, hammer it out with you. I think he's back to feeling really good about himself. He's in shape. He's got a good roster. He made the Sweet 16 last year. He's feeling pretty good. And he's still got a lot of friends here. And he doesn't like being out of sight, out of mind. I think he would love to do it in his way, feel like it would be pushing the buttons of the fan base.
So you say I have better than a 50-50 shot?
I think you have a better than 50-50 shot.
I'm going to be positive. You ready? I ain't 20-1 on the morning line.
Well, it would be fun.
It wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong. I'm going to try. I mean,
not too many people can bring Patino on and they get Calipari on. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah. I was lucky to get Patino first, and he was really,
I think you can
really,
pull it
really
off.
good. Okay. And if I do, hat tip goes to you. Hey, Chip, thank you for the extra time. Thank you for switching your schedule a little crazy today. Bless your brother. And I love the Yankee background, but I was really, I was giving you 20-1. You're going to put a Reds thing up today.
Get me on next week. I'll have the Reds up for you.
Well, not for me. If they lose 3 in a row, go back to the Yankees. Hey, man, Chip Rupp, I really appreciate you.
Oh, right back at you. Love doing
Thanks,
it.
man.
Have a great day.
You too, man. Chip Rupp the third. No, Adolph Rupp the third. You think I know your name by now, Chip? That's really embarrassing. I apologize. Yeah, you are laughing at me, as you should. Adolph Rupp the third, kind enough to join us. Really good stuff on the NIL, and I really like, Jimmy, the text question. I think a lot of people have that in their mind about can Kentucky buy out a coach with JMI money? And
yeah, I don't know if. I think now that that's brought up, now I'm thinking of all these other fan bases that are slowly probably starting to ask the same question.
Yeah, I think it's a legitimate question.
Yeah.
I think it's really smart. But do I see, if they have to make a change, JMI writing a check out for $30 million? Oh. Do you?
And off the top, no.
I don't think they'd contribute $1 million to it.
You never know.
You're right. You never know, because it's not their responsibility.
Right.
It's their responsibility to sell, make money for themselves and the University of Kentucky. And on the surface, this seems like a really good deal. Drew Cook coming up next. Going to talk a little baseball. Right now, I want to talk about Terry Page. Terry Page. Not a very good, a great, not just licensed massage therapist, but a healer. Now, she has a website. You can schedule a 15-minute conversation for free. to talk about what you need and see how she can help you. It's called Natural Healing and Pain Relief.com. Natural Healing and Pain Relief.com. So you can just make an appointment that way. You can check her out for getting a massage. First part of the week in Butler, last part of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday here in Lexington. So check her out. Text her. Best way to reach her, call her, whatever, 859-373-0578. 859-373-0578. A healer. Please use my name. She's helped me tremendously and helped many, 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 many others. As she says, I've lost a lot of clients because I healed them. It's a nice way to lose business. She is that good. She has been to me. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, the road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pep and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Milky Way, Snickers, or Twix share-sized candy bars, 2 for $4, and Combo's 5-ounce bags, 2 for $5.
Clark's Pump and Shop, return, refresh, refuel.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrell Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru. The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal. 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quantrell family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you. Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
223 CV Lexington. ESPN Sports Radio 1300 and 92.5. WLXG Lexington and LM Communications Broadcasting Station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
Hey, Barstow, he did only deal with the backbreaker. There's nothing since then. Broken down. Challenge. Set to the pole. Too tall. Size glove. See the
Payoff is a strikeout. Here, swinging at this payoff.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Thank you, Chip. We're up. Really good stuff. And Jimmy, I don't know why I didn't think of it, but give Chip credit. I am going to contact Cal. I still don't think he's going to come on. Do you?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
You think my 20-1 is fair odds?
I'd probably put it a little higher than that.
Me too. I was being nice with Chip. I didn't no filter it totally. But you know what? I will, anybody watching on YouTube now, and if you do, ESPN's 1300, ESPN Sports Radio 1300, you see me bowing. Please subscribe. Maybe 10 people who are watching today. But our online numbers are going up and up and up and up and up, which I appreciate. Our podcast numbers are going up and up and up, which I appreciate. And our radio numbers are going up. So it's terrific, and thank you. Yeah, I don't think he's going to. I was going to, Jimmy. I got to be honest. I held back, which I don't like doing, so I'm scolding myself now. I think it's 50-1 to do the show, but can a 50-1 shot win the Derby? Absolutely. And if he does it, I'm going to have to say thank you and eat crow with Chip, and I think that's more than fair. Okay, let's move on to Drew Cook. Drew, how are you?
I'm good, Alan. How about yourself?
Good. Tell everybody what you do, where you're working, what you're doing, and then we got to give you. You should have gone to Vegas. We'll explain in a second. Because if you're that good at figuring this stuff out, dude, you're wasting your talent. Whatever you made for the article, that's great. But you could have gone to Vegas with that prediction, making a million. First of all, give yourself a plug, who you write for, and all that good stuff.
Sure. I write for Fansided. We're a network owned by Minute Media Company, and I run the Red site mainly, but also do some contributions with the Dodgers and the Astros and a few other major league sites within the network.
One of the things I like is you don't live in Cincinnati, and you can do this without living in Cincinnati. So when I did the Bengals for 14 years, people say, how often do you go to practice? And I went, never. What do you mean never? How do you do your job? I read everything out there. I watch everything out there. I know what's going on. I talk to people. You don't have to be around to know exactly what's going on. Now, would it help to stand around the batting cage? Sure. But do you have to do your job that way? Not if you work hard. And so I applaud you because I read your stuff all the time. So you're doing a heck of a job.
I appreciate that, Alan. Thank you very much. Yeah, down in North Carolina right now, so enjoying it and get to enjoy some Reds baseball. It might even bleed over into the postseason if we're lucky. So it's fun.
This is amazing. Okay, so tell everybody. And the truth was, I forgot. If I didn't read it, I would say, I didn't read it. But I did read it, and I forgot. But you were very quick, as you should do. Point out what you wrote 2 days before they got a certain player. Explain that.
Well, the Miguel Andujar trade was just it was tailor-made for the Reds, if we're being honest about it. I believe Francis Romero, he's an MLB insider, reported that the A's were shopping Andujar, and his slash line against lefties made it just all too. It was just a tailor-made move for the Reds, and they've struggled against lefties all season, and I know Andujar can't play the field to save his life, but neither can Gavin Lux. So just platoon those two with each other, and oddly enough, it looks like Andujar might have carved out a nice role, at least until he cools down, playing every day. So, so far, so good as far as that move was concerned that Nick Krall pulled off. So, and they got him for what, a borderline top 30 organizational prospect. So you would make that move all day if it makes you a better team this year.
And it was pretty obvious the A's weren't going to sign him next year. That's why they took a borderline prospect, and occasionally one of them work out. You say you shouldn't have made that trade, but when somebody's that low on the list, maybe you get lucky, and that's fine. But if you're not going to sign him, although he wasn't a big dollar guy, but they have other people to take his slot, so it's not like they hurt their team. It's not like they saved a little money, and actually the trade made sense for both teams. And I didn't look up the numbers, but I have been saying this for a couple of days, and I believe this from my memory. But Andujar has gone to teams in the past because he's been traded a bunch, and he almost always, if not always, starts out, boom, really hot, and then he fizzles out. So, first of all, he can't keep this pace up. That ain't going to happen. If he keeps this pace up for 10 years, he's going to the Hall of Fame. Wouldn't even take 10 years, probably 8 or 9. The point is, he can't keep this pace up, but will he be consistent? But right now, maybe he's at the right point of his career. He's really matured. When he came up with the Yankees, I think he was not mature enough. I think he's grown. I think he's developed. I think he's got used to America. And as you know, there's a lot of guys who come from outside of America that it takes them a while to adjust to here. And some never adjust. And so he's not expensive. He's batting cleanup. And everything I've read, he has a great attitude. Plus the Grand Slam home run.
Oh, it was such an important thing for him to do last night was to hit that home run. I mean, you could make the argument they could have won that game without it, but that just put them over the top. It let them rest their bullpen a little bit more, which they need to do with Santillan and Pagan and those guys just logging all the innings that they were. But he fits that team for what they needed. Do I wish they would have gone out and gotten Eugenio Suarez? Nostalgically, there's a huge part of me that wishes they would have brought Gino back to Cincinnati, although he's not playing great since he arrived in Seattle. But Andujar just fit what they're looking for because I feel like a trade for Suarez would have been a type of trade that you make if you're in first place in the NL Central and you're going to give up 3 of your top organizational prospects. Grab an Andujar, you're a borderline playoff team. It gives you a better chance. And if he fizzles out in the next 2 weeks, call up your top prospect, put Lux in that spot, find another way to keep manufacturing, because the pitching's what's going to put this team into the chance to win the playoffs. That and the Mets completely just tanking down the stretch. So that's what they've got to hope for.
When I look at the Reds, I hope, one, they're not teasing, but there was a little comment that Tito made last night that he gave Ellie credit. And this was a little self-serving, and I like it. I'm good with it. He also was complimenting the team that what he sold to the team in spring training was you got to hustle all the time, because sometimes when you hustle all the time, you'll run into some good things. And he said not every team does what Ellie did, that Ellie ran hard enough, and without that happening, Andujar never gets in the batter's box to get the grand slam. And then Tito said, and I like it, I'm glad he said it. He said, not every team does this. And I think what he's really saying, a lot of teams don't do this. And so whatever the heck it is, I call it Tito magic. And some of the things he does drives me a little crazy, but he's going to Hall of Fame and I'm not. And you can't agree with everything. And plus, there are sometimes they make decisions on information that we don't have. But a couple of things really were head scratchers when Marte was ninth for as long as he was. Neither here nor there. But I also understand he's trying not to put too many things in his head. And he kind of said that after last night. It's like he's finally got him to calm down. The point being is this: he has done an amazing job changing the attitude of that entire clubhouse. They like to play for him. They respect where he's coming from. They say it's easy to play for him, but tough to do because you have to hustle all the time. I was listening to a Steer on a Reds podcast yesterday, and he really laid it out how good Tito is. And you don't want to disappoint the guy. Oh my gosh, you got a major leaguer in his mid-20s who says, I don't want to disappoint my manager. How many teams have a manager like that? I mean, it's amazing. So much so, I go one more in the rant, and then I want your opinion. I saw an article in the New York Post where Chris Russo, who's been a big radio guy forever, he was, basically
the Mad Dog.
The Mad Dog. He was king of New York, and he's on, Sirius and ESPN and all that kind of stuff. And he said the Yankees blew it by not hiring Tito Francona. And you want to know something? He's right. Guys, for whatever reason, he's got something about him that he's got a little magic in him. There's a way he relates. One more and I'll be done. When he was in Pittsburgh and I was in Pittsburgh, I got to know him a little bit. I'm sure he doesn't remember me. The one time I interviewed him here, I said, hey, man, he doesn't remember me, and that's fine. But you could tell then, and you said this on radio when I was doing TV and radio in Pittsburgh. I said, I don't know this guy. I remember his dad, who was a first baseman, really good fielding first baseman, by the way. And I said, he's a really nice guy, and he's got a really good future somewhere in baseball. Did I know he would do this? Of course not. No, but he was friendly to everybody. I mean, everybody, and that's just the way he is. So I don't know. I think what he's doing is special. And let's put it this way. Last one, then I'll shut up. Shouldn't be up for Manager of the Year in the National League. Now go, please.
I think you got to put him up there. It's wild to think. I wasn't the biggest David Bell hater. I didn't like everything that David Bell did, but I think you can see the difference in the way that the players play for him. I mean, he's got basically the same team that Bell had last year, but they're playing so much harder for him. Like you said, Steer's been a big advocate for Tito, talking about doing things the right way and not wanting to disappoint their manager. I mean, if you look at the rest of the NL, if you're talking about Manager of the Year, I know people are going to say Pat Murphy from Milwaukee, and he's done a great job. But outside of that, where else are you going to look? I mean, everybody else was expected to do well. I don't know where the Reds were predicted to land outside of maybe 500 this year. And if you're putting them up against some of these big market teams like that and some of these high spenders, if Tito's able to put this team in position to get to the postseason, he's got to be in the top 2 or 3. And I might even put him as the leader in the clubhouse for Manager of the Year. What he's done in that clubhouse is phenomenal. And it's what Reds fans have been wanting to see for years. They know that they have all this young talent and they have to be able to make something out of it. And this is a proven winner who's done that before. So I think you're spot on that he's got to be in the mix for Manager of the Year.
By the way, I wasn't a David Bell hater either, and I didn't like that they fired him. And later, Hal McCoy, I don't know if you know Hal, the Hall of Famer, does the show all the
great
time. What a
guy.
great human being. He later told me that he found out that the guys didn't like him as much as people thought, and they really didn't like him. Now, you don't have to not like a guy. I mean, a lot of guys didn't like Billy Martin, but as long as you played hard. So that's not just the be-all, end-all. But without David having a reputation of being a great manager, although I think he's a great baseball man. He was born into this. He knew more baseball by the time he was 10 than some young big leaguers. I'm being serious as a heart attack. His dad, his grandfather, his brothers, the whole thing. And I like David Bell, and I wasn't happy that they fired him. But now, had I known at the time you could fire him and get Tito, I would say, how quickly can you get this done? Because if they ended up with the wrong manager, it wouldn't be any better. But they didn't play. You're right. They didn't play this hard for him at all. They did not play this hard for him at all. And let me throw one more at you. Guys like Steer are playing for a new contract. And he wasn't yet playing for a new contract last year. And McLean was sort of playing for a new contract, and then he couldn't hit his weight, and that went by the wayside. So a lot of these guys are a year older, and there's more money out there for them. And they might not talk about it, but they're conscious of it. And I think now that they're in the major leagues longer, they're also much more comfortable in their own skin because that takes time. And I think that's part of it anyway. But when you hear Steer talking about how you don't want to disappoint your manager, ooh.
I think Spencer Steer has quietly become one of the leaders on that team. He's playing phenomenal defense at first base. His bat's still way behind. Just like with McLean, I question if he's fully healthy. He had that shoulder issue during the spring. McLean's coming back from shoulder surgery. And they're both still, under team control with arbitration and everything. But just the way that those guys talk about their manager, the way that they play for him, there's just a different vibe in that clubhouse than there has been. And that starting rotation is a rotation that nobody wants to see in the postseason. And I can almost guarantee you that every other club in the NL does not want to see Green and Lodolo. And you got Chase Burns if you want to throw him out there. They got Andrew Abbott. I mean, that is a loaded rotation. And you know as well as I do, when you get into the postseason, it is about that starting pitching. And if they can just score enough runs, I think they're going to be right there in the next few weeks. So they're going to be fun to watch.
Burns in the bullpen, and how about if he's your sixth and maybe seventh inning guy? And now it's only 2 innings, and the bullpen is that much stronger. And if you're only using 3 starters, that means Martinez is in the bullpen as well. And all of a sudden, this could be a really, really, really good team. I mean, like a really good team. I mean,
it's a scary team. It's a scary bunch if you're talking about their pitching.
Why doesn't every team hustle the way the Reds hustle now? I'm old school. And what drives me nuts, Milwaukee is great at this, by the way. And now I'm only seeing clips. I've never watched the Milwaukee game this year. I just don't, but I see their clips all the time. And I watch a lot of longer clips that you can get on YouTube and stuff like that. They sprint as soon as the ball is hit. I can't stand these baseball players forever. They'll kind of jog. Oh, it's going to drop. Now I'll take off. You should sprint as soon as you put contact on the ball. And you start this in the minor leagues. And you find guys, not $1,000 in the minor league, you find them $20 in Class A ball, which is a lot of money to a lot of these guys. And so you develop the habits better in the minor leagues and you keep it in the major leagues. And every time you don't sprint out, it's $100 the first time, $200 the second time, $500, whatever. Even the guys making money don't want to be embarrassed because it'll leak out about the fines. And I don't know, the Reds are doing a much better job of it, but I don't know why every single team. You're playing baseball. It's a 4-hour game. You're getting up 4 times. Can you please sprint? And if you're too tired to sprint, you know what? Take the day off. I don't care if a guy needs a day off, but sprint. You're paying all that money in the stands, and you see a guy like halfway down. Oh, I better start running. Well, maybe you might have gotten a triple, or maybe you could have stood up at second base with a double instead of having to slide in. And maybe you would have forced the defense into a mistake because you made them rush. And a lot of mistakes are made in baseball on defense because you make a guy rush. And there's so much laziness. And one of the things I'm seeing from the Reds clips is they're not lazy.
You spoke about Ellie last night, what Tito was saying about him, and he's 1,000% right. That was a ball it was a single, infield single that was hit to the right side. Bryce Harper didn't cover the bag, and Ellie hustled, got there, and it set them up for that 4-run homer for the grand slam. So that's what they need to do. You talk about hustle and repercussions and things like that, and I wonder, just really as we were talking about this, if you have if you're watching Mark Pope on UK and he's got one of his guys that's not hustling down there, you put him on the bench. If you've got a guy for UK football, Stoops can pull him out for a series or two. If you did that in baseball, you're on the bench for the rest of the game. So I think that the bench isn't as powerful as it could be in other sports. Sometimes I wish we could see managers use that more often, but playing time to me is the biggest way to do it. But you've also got the level of accountability with your manager, and that's kind of coming back to what you were saying about the way these guys want to play for Francona. If you have a manager who holds you accountable, and I'm sure Pat Murphy is the same way up in Milwaukee, but if you have a manager that holds these guys accountable, then I think they're going to end up playing hard and pushing it and playing 110%. You might suffer a career-ending injury tomorrow. Wouldn't you like to know that you went out playing your hardest? So it's really fun to watch the Reds actually put forth what's about as close to 100% effort as almost any team in the league this year.
You know what, though? I think the bench is the best equalizer. Coaches have said it forever. If you really lollygag that bear, take them out the rest of the game. Guess what? You got to face the media after the game, and you're going to have to deal with it. And it's embarrassing. And here's something else. If it's a really good team, one of the leaders gets in your face and say, hey, that's not how we do it around here. Then if you do it a second time, it turns into a shouting match, oftentimes behind closed doors. No, the best way to do it is sometimes if you need to set an example, not for the sake of, but if it's legitimate, you make sure guys hustle. Give yourself a great plug for what you're doing. Congratulations on getting that Andujar article out a couple days before. You're right, it was an obvious trade, but how many times have you seen the Reds not do something that was obvious?
A lot.
Okay, so give yourself some credit, dude. And I remember at the time, I started asking you to come on after it happened, and I don't know where my notes were, but I forgot to ask you. So I was glad you sent that to me when I asked you to come on. I went, oh, yeah, need to brag on you a little bit because that was really cool. Not many people do it. And it doesn't matter. It's obvious. It was done.
Much appreciated, Alan. It's always fun to come on your show. You can catch me at blogredmachine.com. We have a lot of talented writers over there, and I always appreciate coming on your show. You do a great job.
Thanks, man. Hopefully you'll force me to ask you to come on more because the Reds are forcing us to say they might make the playoffs, which means I get to talk more baseball, which is fun. So I hope we have to talk to you more and you grant us time because the Reds are doing so well.
Not a problem. So what you're saying is October would be a great time to come on the show. Is that what you're saying?
Man, no, they keep on winning. If you can grant me time, it'll be way before October. Trust me. Hey, man, I'm just trying to say thank you. And that was a hell of an article. Really quick, give that blog out again because I think you now can get some extra people reading because the Reds are doing well. So give it out again.
For sure. blogredmachine.com. That's where we're at, part of the Fansided Network. We appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Good luck to you.
Thanks, Alan.
Talk to you. Jimmy, that was really good that he did with the predictions 2 days before. And I really did read it and forgot about it. So I don't know. Is it worse that I read it and forgot about it?
That blog read machine is great to follow with the Reds. I didn't realize that's who he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I read it all the time.
Yeah.
And usually there's something on Twitter that has me go to it. I don't often just go straight to the site, but there's something that one of their guys puts up. Every time I see it, do I click on it? Yes. And then if I haven't read the site for a couple of days, I go back and read the stuff from the day before and the day before because they're good. They're really good. I tell you who else is really good. Blue Lotus Health. 859-533-0914. Now also providing a licensed massage therapist. Acupuncture, Ramon, has been not good, but great to me. And I've used this example with my neck because of my eye, which is, thank God, healing, knock on wood. I have to sleep in manners that's very difficult. It's not been fun, but like I said, I'm lucky and blessed. Because of that, my neck has been a mess. And the last couple times he's worked on it, I said, hey, you got to work on my neck. I should have brought it up weeks and weeks before that, but I wasn't sleeping that much on my stomach. And I don't remember, he put 9 or 10 needles in my neck, which seemed crazy at the time. But when I got up about 40 minutes later, I could turn my head fully left and fully right, which I wasn't close to doing. So he's helped me tremendously. And there's all kinds of things Ramon can do to help. Please use my name, Ramon Carriega, Blue Lotus Health, on Versailles Road. He's a special dude, 859-533-0914. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment. Hit the text line 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrill Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru. The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal. 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quantrill family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jack Link's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Jimmy, I have a very, very, very serious question to ask you. And you've always been straight with me. If you think I'm out of my mind, you will tell me this, right?
Yes, I will.
Have you ever considered or have you ever eaten duck eggs?
I don't believe so. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I don't think I've ever eaten them before.
So Terry Page, who I talk about all the time, who's helped me, about 3-4 weeks ago was telling me how duck eggs are spectacular. They're really healthy for you and they're bigger. So a change I've made is, and it's expensive, but I don't really go out to eat very often and stuff like that. So I kind of do organic, not 100%, but just about that. And I've been eating organic eggs for a while. Now I'm eating a lot more eggs. Have you ever eaten organic pasture-raised eggs?
I've never bought them, so it would have to be at a restaurant. I'm going to also say no.
Yeah, and restaurants are probably not going to have it. So
I doubt it.
Here's what really surprised me. The color of the yolk between an organic egg and a pasture-raised egg that's organic, Jimmy, the color is different. Seriously. When you put it back to back, it's kind of mind-boggling. It's so much richer, it's not even funny. So I'm now doing pasture eggs. Eggs have become a bigger part of me as I keep on changing what I'm doing, always looking for stuff and that kind of stuff. So that's really good. I did duck eggs today, and Terry had told me that they're really good. They're bigger. They're expensive, by the way. I was going like, wow, but okay. I really liked it. And the duck eggs, the richness of the color was equal to the pasture eggs. And if you take a look at the pasture eggs and the organic eggs that I get, there's a different color. And if you get a regular egg, not organic, it has another color. You find that interesting?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like the darker the color, obviously, but it makes you think, like, how much better are they? If this is what, like, the base layer is, how much better are these pasture-raised ones for you?
You know, I've read that they're much better. I can't tell you. I've been sold on the idea that I'll spend a little extra money to do it. That kind of thing, because I really try to stay away from processed food. I wish I can give you a definitive answer, but that's now what I'm going with. You know, in New Zealand, and I was there. You know, in New Zealand, they don't refrigerate their eggs.
Yeah, well, some places here, if you like have your own chickens and you get them that way, and they don't start refrigerated, from what I've read, you don't have to. But it's once they are refrigerated, then you have to keep them there. But
I didn't know that.
I have a friend down in Florida, and they've got their own chickens, and they just set them out on the counter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm big on eggs, the deer eggs. I guess if the Lanters are listening in Sean Woods, you think they'll think this is crazier than the black garlic I sort of made them eat in the studio?
No, I think that's about as weird as it gets.
It's really good for you. You really think black garlic is that weird?
No, but to have someone just randomly offer you, hey, will you eat a clove of black garlic? I don't know how many people have ever had that offered up to them, let alone just during a radio show.
Well, it was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it wasn't as bad as you think.
Correct. I will never forget the look on Sean's face and Todd's face. It was kind of like,
yeah,
I'm never doing your show again. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe you talked me into this. Okay. I want to do something about Patterson, James Patterson. And I really find this interesting because you have all these kids who leave. They're not getting the ball enough. Somebody's offering you more money. Or let's say what Kentucky did. You know, Stoops brought in two really good running backs. I think the two kids they brought in, McGowan and Dowdle, I think they're really good backs. Not putting them in the Hall of Fame, whatever. I think they're really good backs. And you would think, and oftentimes this is true, that's a possibility that a kid like Patterson will say, hey, you know what? They're moving guys in front of me, bringing guys in, and that's good. No, I'm leaving. Well, not only did he not leave, not only did he play well in the scrimmage, folks, listen to his words. This kid he's got a great attitude about fighting for playing time, what he needs to get better, not upset that there are guys in front of him, what he has to do to get more PT, understands you need plenty of running backs. Jimmy, I'm telling you this. I wasn't against Patterson. That'd be silly. But I wasn't a huge fan of his. I looked at his potential last year, and anybody could see that. But now I'm telling you, after listening to the sound, I'm a huge fan of this kid because I love it when young people have an attitude like this. Here's the backup running back who I think at a certain point going to help this year. You're going to need him. And he's got the stuff on it. Here is James Patterson.
Like I said, I feel like you have to be the best offensive line in the nation. If you're consistent, I know where you're going to be at this point in time. It just let me out with my reads better, get you out, and it's a better flow for the offense. I definitely think some of the guys are starting to buy into what exactly Coach Bush is trying to put into us. The play, the tempo, the speed of the offense. I think it's starting to click. I think guys are starting to buy in, and we've seen the fruits of the labor. You know what I'm saying? With scrimmages, we are able to do what we want against the defense.
Players have to adjust. Players have to adjust. It was his first time being in the South.
Yeah.
Has there been what has been the biggest change or adjustment you think he's made?
I think last year coming in, he didn't really know too much of the guys. You know, he knew about the guys that was there the previous year, but now that his second year here, some of the guys that he probably brought in, the guy that he brought with his offense, and he knew and I'm starting to feel like he got an idea of with this package and this play and stuff like that. So,
He's a pusher to get into the 30 bucks.
It's me a lot. You know, I love it. I told my coach, Coach Bull, that I would never shop for competition. And I was into it. So the guys in the field, you know, the guys never back down. You know, they compete, and that's what I want to do. They got to make better games.
This Saturday, you got to go up with a back there, and he made some pretty good plays, open some eyes, too. Anything you come along?
I think I come along fine. I think I come along right where I need to be. Along with the offensive line, you guys are doing a great job up there. I can't thank them guys enough. Coach Bush and Coach Stu, they give me opportunities to make some plays, and I went out there and did it.
How big of a difference has it been from last year to this year?
Huge difference. Huge difference. Like I say, way more consistent. I feel like my play, my game, I got way more wisdom, experience now to know exactly, you know, what the tech should be, how to hit it, the speed of the game, when to slow it down, when the speed of, you know, so stuff like that is definitely helped me a lot. Yeah.
Jimmy, am I nuts? You agree 1,000%, 1,000% that this kid for a young kid, he's a sophomore. He has a very mature and a great attitude. Did you have any idea? I had no idea his attitude was this good.
No, and as a coach, that's exactly what you want. Not just a coach, but a teammate too. You want those. Those are the types of guys that you want when competition gets brought in. They get recruited above you. Okay, I take that as a challenge, not a shot at me as a person. I take it as a challenge. Like, okay, let's go to work. And that's awesome. If you could have a team full of Jason Pattersons, you're in a good spot.
Let's put it this way. If they have a team full of Jason Pattersons, I think they can go to a bowl game this year. Now, to some, that might be stupid. Why are you saying that? Because I think that much of the mental part of the sports. I really do. I really do. Look, we play a lot of sound. I listen to everything out there. And I pick some stuff and Jimmy slaps it together, which I appreciate tremendously. But this is really unusual to have somebody like this. And I think it's a great life lesson. Seriously. Not everybody's going to be first string. By the way, that doesn't mean you won't end up being first string someday, does it? No. Not everybody's going to be first string. But guess what? What can he do? He's going to work, get stronger. And here's something else. The guys in the running back room aren't stupid. They know what backbiting is. And when you exude as a non-first teamer in the room with something like that, these guys are going to be close. They're going to be close. And if you think I'm making too big of a deal of this Patterson kid, I'm not saying he's going on the Hall of Fame. I'm not even going to tell you how much he's going to be part of the mix this year. I'm telling you, I think he will. I'm telling you, he's got the great attitude in doing everything the right way if you believe his words, and I do. We spent a long time explaining the JMI deal. If you missed it, it's in our monologue, and then again at 12:30 leading up to Chip Rupp, who was wonderful joining us, and then Drew Cook was really, really good. It's been a fun show. I want to tell you, this was fun scrambling to get on the air today with so many phone calls last night, today, gathering information. I still have a couple questions, but I got a great handle on this thing, I believe, at this point. The general temperature, I think I get. Some of the specifics, yeah. But right now, the way I see this, I think it's a good deal for UK. I really do. And I hope I'm right for UK's sake. I really do. Jimmy, as always, thank you so much. Brad Taylor coming up next. Matthew and Jimmy at 10. I'll be back at noon. Count your blessings. Honored and pleased to be with you. Honored and pleased to be with you, and honored and say thank you if you tell one friend, which a lot of you guys are doing, and this thing continues to grow and grow and grow and grow. And